Hello, day 4. Wow. I really need to start doing some writing. I don't know about you. We sort of, wouldn't say we've unpacked because we did this big house move over the weekend. And things are a little bit chaotic around me. The office is still very chaotic. In fact, I don't have my headphones in, so I'm not sure if that's coming across. Might be a bit noisy. I might... hang on with me for a tick. I will put my headphones in. This is my chaotic way. We've just put the children on the bus to go to school for the first day since we've been back at our house. So there's been the chaos of that happening as well this morning. So it's all happening here. So if I can make things happen with all this chaos going on, I'm sure you can, although you probably have your own chaos like Heidi does at the moment. I will hopefully that won't fall over. It might do. I spend about 5 minutes every morning just putting everything together to make sure it works. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that might cut back some of the... I've got to get that thing to stand up right. I don't know if that helps. Hopefully. I don't see anyone's on at the moment, so nobody's actually noticing it. I have to see it in the replay instead. There we go. Hopefully that won't fall over. Ugh. I probably should come up with a much better way to get my phone to stay sitting up all by itself. At the moment, I have it hooked up to a selfie stick, and then I have that leaning on my paper holding filing cabinet thing I have on my desk. So, and then my computer makes it all just stay upright. So as long as I don't bang it or do anything too, rough, then it should stay there and won't fall over. All right. Why are we here? Well, it's because of the content challenge, of course. And I can see a few people have gone in and put in some fantastic numbers again. So that's great. I managed to knock off just over 100 words yesterday between boxes and, trying to work out what to do with clothes, and not to mention still feeding the family, because that's what you have to do when you're a mum. You can't just let everyone starve just because we've got other things going on. We all still need to eat, and that's my responsibility, apparently. Anyway, mind you, they're all a bit old enough they could probably look after themselves. They don't really need me that much. Maybe I just need to feel needed. I'm not sure. Anyway, so enough about our moving and things like that. So if you are struggling, I haven't heard from anyone that they're struggling, so I'm assuming you're all, having a party with this whole getting a blog post written because you've done it before. And maybe you're all hanging out till next week when we get to convert it all into fantastic pieces of alternative content in one way or another. That is definitely the thing that I find most exciting. Although I don't mind writing, once I've got a bit of space and I have an idea, the words tend to flow. But that actual creative juices get flowing when you can play with the images and things in Canva. That's really fun. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Actually, I don't know if you can see it. This is one thing I have unpacked, which I haven't sat in for 2.5 years. It's my red chair, because red's my favourite colour. So, sorry, I digress again. So I assume everyone's waiting to get to next week when we get to do all the fun stuff. And hopefully things for me will be a bit more settled. As it is, in the next few days, I'm going to have to change the timing of this call. I've got a meeting early in the morning on Friday, so it won't work then. And just trying to think. And I've got a meeting early in the morning tomorrow as well. So I just I'll adjust the time, but I'll put it out in the Facebook group for anyone who wants to come on live and ask me any questions. We haven't had quite as much participation this time round. That's partly because everyone who's doing it has already done it before, so perhaps you don't have as many questions, you know what you need to do. And partly because I didn't advertise it to lots of people, so everyone who's doing it's pretty much already done it. So you're all very familiar with the process, and any questions you have probably answered last time, especially in this part of it. It's when we get to next week and do the creative things that you might need a bit more support, or have a few more questions about how to put it all together. I guess now it's really just knuckling down and getting that blog post done. If you want to post, if you actually have finished a blog post, then feel free to put the link to it in the group, and we can go over and read it and give you our feedback on what we think, and all constructive, positive feedback, of course, because that's what we all need. Hello, Gavin. See, Gavin's joined.
So, yeah, if you want us to have a look at what you've written, then feel free to put it up. I guess the things to think about, as we've already talked about, is your heading. We talked about what you were going to write and how you're going to cover that, and how to fit in time to actually make these things happen. We also have covered that a bit too, because this process of moving for me has meant that time for me has been a little up in the air and a little odd. But if you really want to do something, it's amazing how we can find the time, whether it means getting up a little bit earlier in the morning or going to bed a bit later, however we work better. Now, Simon's just come back from taking the children to school. He's on the window on the other side pulling faces at me. So I'm being very good and not reacting. So I'm not going to react. Anyway. So if you don't have any more questions, I was trying to think what else we talked about last time in regards to creating a blog post. And because I'm not as organised as I was last time, where I went in and actually decided exactly what I was going to talk about every day, I will get back to that. But I should go and check actually what we did talk about, just in case there are some things that I've missed in regards to writing a blog post. The videos over in the Resource Centre cover off on a lot of the places you can go in order to decide on what you're going to write about. Obviously, you've already decided, otherwise, you wouldn't be putting up numbers of how much you've already written. If you haven't decided, then you need to get a wriggle on. You've got basically 4 days to go. Is that right? Yeah, so you've got Tuesday in Australia, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to get that all done, including the actual writing of it and posting it onto your website. And then at the end of the week, if you can post a link to it, that would be awesome. We can all go and have a look at this fantastic piece you have written, this epic piece of content that is going to grow your website and grow the foundation of your business. If you can eventually get round to writing, 2 a month would be really good. Obviously, 1 a week would be epic. And then you had some process set in place to create the extra content later, the repurposed content or the baby content. And there are a lot of things you can do to automate a bunch of that stuff as well. So I might get a little bit more into that technical side next week, because last time we just covered off on the basics of it. And because most of you have done this challenge before, maybe I need to throw something in there to give you a bit of an extra challenge. So not just writing 1,500 words being a challenge and turning it into lots of images and videos and slides and things like that, but we might throw in a bit of automation in there as well to sexy it up a bit, if you like. And we probably should talk a little bit about emails as well. I know something we haven't talked about in regards to your actual blog post is the call to action. So the whole point of you even having a business is there are things you want people to do. Usually you want them to buy your thing, your service, your product, your whatever. So making sure that it doesn't need to be in your blog post. If it is, of course, that's awesome. If you can link to things that are in your website that you want people to purchase in some way, or to take an action or sign up for your email list or something, then that's great. But whatever you do, don't force it, because then it takes away from the message that you're trying to do in the blog post. But if you, at any time, if you can link to other things on your website, not even just things you want them to do, but maybe you have created another blog post which is in some way relevant to a point that you're making in your blog post, and you can link it, that's actually really good on-page search engine optimization. And I know I might have just lost a bunch of people who watch this, but technically, as a little bit of an extender, that's actually a really good way to, when the robots come into your websites, they see a link on your page, and they follow all of the links. So if the links create like an intricate pattern where the robots can traverse. So if you've got a link that says, say if you did something about coffee, and you had a link about coffee grinders, and you've done a review of coffee grinders somewhere on your website as well, and the bit that says coffee grinders or something, or it says something like, I talked about this in my review about coffee grinders, and the word coffee grinders and review or something are all linked to that other page on your website where you've done that review, then that gives the robots and Google a much better picture of the value of your website, if that makes sense. Because the links that have a certain name, so the anchor text, as we call that, so that link would be coffee grinder review or something like that, rather than, you wouldn't see the whole link, but that text would be linked. That tells the robots and Google that this is a very important piece of text or keyword, key phrase, and it builds to the expertise of your website, if you like, and it makes it a much more solid piece of content for Google. So there's that, plus there's also linking out strategies as well, where you can link out to, say, a review somewhere else about the coffee grinders. And again, that all goes to creating your website to appear to be a place to send, for Google to send people on XYZ, because not only do you have great content, but you also have these links where you're adding to it. I guess you're creating extra benefit by providing all these other resources, whether the resources are on your page, which is obviously preferable because people don't leave, but also when they do leave your page, if you do it, and this might be slightly techie, as a open up in a new tab. If you're ever having someone leave your website, never create the link so that the new website opens up on your website on the same tab. Always create, and every website, every WordPress, whatever you're using, whatever editor you're using, will give you the ability to say open in a new tab or a new window. And that means that when they click on that link, if they're going to be leaving your website, they're actually going to open up in a new tab. So your website will stay open. And if they're on your website, you don't actually want to send them away. So if you are creating a linking strategy which has them going away, then at least having your website still open, then at some stage they'll be reminded to see your website again, because I'll have to close it at some stage. So you'll still be there, if that makes sense. So that's probably gone way beyond blogging and that kind of stuff, but it is relevant and it is extending you perhaps a little bit more if you do think about some of that. Initially, though, just get those words down. And we can probably do a whole challenge on linking strategies and how to make your content that you put on your website even more, chunky and relevant to not just people, but also to Google and to the robots that come and visit it. In saying that, all those things, those linking strategies do make it relevant for people as well, because it gives them more context by giving them extra resources either on your website or on other websites. So there you go. There's a little impromptu rant about linking. There are other, obviously, linking strategies which talk about linking back into your website. They're actually very valuable because it makes you look like the most popular person in the playground. And again, there are lots of ways you can do that really well. And there are lots of ways you can do that and get yourself into trouble from Google. So I guess that could be another. I could do a whole challenge just on linking. It's a bit dry though. Some people will find it a little bit boring, and and they avoid it like the plague. But it is an important part of the whole puzzle. So this is not about linking we're talking about today though, but it is something that you can have in the back of your mind. And if you want to know any more, do let me know, because we can do a little bit of training on that too. All right. Now, does anyone have any questions? There was no questions in the Facebook group. You're all obviously doing marvellously well, much better than me. And I will probably spend a little bit of time when I get off this call making my words more than 102, which isn't quite 1,500. So I need to get a wriggle on with that and find some content to link it to and things. Anyway, all right. I will go. I will post up the extra, the different times, I should say, for the rest of the week, because it's going to be slightly higgledy-piggledy. I'll be on every day, but it won't be at the exact same time, because I've got other things that have come in over the top of it that need to be done, other business. All right. Well, if there's no more questions and everybody's good, everybody's fantastic, and you're doing well, then that's awesome. Very proud of you all. But I will go and start doing my writing. All right. Thanks for being here. Take care, and do pop into the Facebook group if you need a hand. And feel free to share the challenge with anyone you like, because the Facebook group is now public. All right. Ciao.